What's up, everybody? Tindo here, and I've been to IKEA. Just kidding. I've been thrift shopping. But what I do is I keep these giant IKEA bags in my van so that whenever I come home with a van full of thrifted stuff, it's very easy to carry in these giant bags. I'll tell you what's in here, but you gotta hang on to the end. So check this out. Sometimes going to the thrift as much as I do can get a little bit monotonous, but a trip to the Goodwill bins most often will cure that monotony. And that's what I did today. I started off at the Goodwill bins. The Goodwill bins is pretty far from my home. When traffic is good, it's about a 25-minute drive. When traffic is bad, I've sat in traffic upwards of an hour to get here before, but I usually do pretty good about avoiding the traffic. And if you're not familiar, the Goodwill bins is a Goodwill where all the other Goodwills in the region send their leftover stuff and also there's stuff that they're not able to get to. So sometimes I come in here and dig in these bins and there's stuff that no Goodwill employee has touched. So there's just no telling what you're going to find here. That's usually the better stuff, the bins that no one has ever touched. It's just pure donations. But that's kind of maybe the worst kept secret of these bins, that happens. So shh, don't go telling anybody. But I went and dug around for a little while before I found anything. The first thing that I found was this World of Warcraft gaming manual. Bit outdated, not super useful now, but for a collector, I think it's pretty awesome. I have a few of these gaming manuals for World of Warcraft now. I don't know what I'll do with them. Probably just put them on display in some sort of World of Warcraft display section in my future larger game room. My game room's not really big enough for that right now. Another thing it's not big enough for are these posters that I find all the time. Look at this Tomb Raider poster. This is beautiful. Huge. It's in pretty great shape except for the glass being a little busted, which could have come out pretty easy. And since things here are paid for by weight, without the glass in there, that probably would have been pretty cheap. But man, I find posters and stuff here all the time. But unfortunately, I'm just completely out of wall space. A little bit later, I didn't actually find these Wiis. Somebody else handed them to me. And the gentleman that handed me these Wiis, he had found a copy of NES Super Mario 3 as well as a Wii Mario game sitting right next to these Wiis. So he kept those, but he knew I'd probably be interested in the Wiis. And I told him, yeah, you know, I might not buy these Wiis, but I might take the extra parts and maybe open them up and see if there's a game. So that's what I did. I came over here to plug these up and see if there weren't games inside, because I very often find games in them. But look at this cord. Super gummy. But it wasn't about 15 minutes after this, I found a Wii of my own. And it was a red one this time. I want you to look at this bad boy. Ooh, a beautiful red Wii. I was very excited to see this because of the probably by now 100 Wiis that I've walked past this year. In this one Goodwill alone, this is the first time I've found a red Wii here. So I'm very happy about that. A little bit later, I found this boom arm. Meant for a light, but I think this would make a great microphone boom arm. So I'm definitely going to leave with this bad boy. It's yellow. It matches my game room. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know we love our yellow around here. But this is another occurrence you'll see a lot at the Goodwill bins, just messes and messes of cables. And this is also another thing you'll see a lot. Lots of the lesser desired gaming peripherals, like this trivia set. I find stuff like this all the time. It's stuff that I don't buy at the game stores, and I don't buy at regular Goodwills because I know I'll be able to buy it here and pay for it by weight. So I got this complete in-box trivia set for less than $1, so you can't beat that. A little bit later in the day, Hannah actually found this Skylanders box. And I was very happy when she found it, but we talked about it a little while and decided that I needed to cool it a little bit on the extras for the Skylanders, because the Skylanders already take up enough room, and all the extra cases and stuff I'd been buying for them lately were just taking up too much more room. So I put it back, and then we found this Monopoly box for a Super Mario Monopoly. And there's no hope when you find these like this to really find all the pieces in the bins. If they spill out, it's just over.
So rude.
She deserved that one, swear. But a little bit later, I found an Xbox 360, a black one. And this is usually about what they look like when you find them here. Just all the pieces gone. So I'm not terribly interested in that. But I kept digging, and it was not long after that I found the rest of the plastic that goes inside of that trivia game, as well as an Xbox 360 Slim. And this one looked a little bit better than that Xbox 360, but it was, of course, like most Slims are when you find them at the thrift, missing its hard drive and its hard drive cover. So I thought about getting it for a little while, but I already have several of these that are missing their hard drives and or their hard drive bay covers, so there's no need to add another one. So I ended up just hanging on to it for a minute, and then a little bit later, I just popped off the disc tray cover. I have one Slim sitting at home without its disc tray cover, so now I'll be able to complete that one. So that's a pretty good find, I think. But a little bit later, I was digging through this same bin, and what did I find? A vintage Apple computer. And I played with this thing forever. I just stood here looking at it, examining it, and I'm not super well versed in vintage computer hardware, so there's a lot about this I don't know. But I looked it up on eBay, kind of saw what they were going for used and parts. I mean, that doesn't mean a lot to me. I actually would really like to buy this and it work, especially since the longer I dug, the more peripherals for it I found, including that disk drive. Here's the power supply. I ended up finding tons of stuff for it, even some software. So I really want to buy this and hopefully get it to work. But it is heavy. It is quite heavy. The power supply itself seems to weigh half as much as the computer. And here's the power supply, a little bit worse for wear. I actually found it in about 3 pieces. It took me a little while to find it all, but I found it and was able to piece it back together. And as you can see, I've got the mouse in my hand as well. Super happy to find that. That's probably one of the coolest parts of it, just a really old mouse. But this is how it goes to the bins. Sometimes you have to dig for all the parts to one thing. This is, I would say, a daily occurrence at the bins. At least one thing a day. You've got to go dig for it. If you really want it, you'll dig and you'll find all of it. This place really does just require a little hard work. Sometimes you get bad luck and you will not find that last component, but today I found all of this one. A little bit later, I thought I had found everything that had to do with the Apple computer, but I went back and dug some more, and there was some of the original packaging as well as some software, and I'm pretty sure that almost all the software that I found was actually gaming related, so that's pretty exciting. If we can get this thing to work, we're going to actually have some games to play. And here is just some more footage of me finding games. There ended up being a pretty big stack of these guys, and what I know about floppy technology, there's a pretty low chance of these things actually working properly, but I'm still going to buy them. They're waitlist, so I'm practically getting away with the games for free. And if you've watched my channel at all, you know if there's one thing we love on this channel, it's free games. I also ended up leaving with a DS case. I have a rather large and growing collection of Nintendo and other gaming-related bags, so anytime I see one in the wild that I don't already have, I buy it, whether it's kind of boring like this one or not. The next stop was a Savers. And I have been to a lot of Savers on this channel. I'm not really sure if I've been to this one yet because it's kind of in a part of town that it's not often that I make it here. So I was pretty happy to stop by here for the first time in a little while. This is actually where I got one of my inbox Wiis, my rarest inbox Wii at that. And also I think I have a inbox 360 Slim that I got here. The Slim, funny enough, also is missing its hard drive. It just seems like every Xbox Slim that I find doesn't have its hard drive. It is a reoccurring thing. Though it has been a while since I've been to this Savers, I'm pretty sure that this Savers keeps its games in the lockbox, and it does. There are movies and games mixed in here, which makes it a little bit harder to look through, but I'm going to put the time in and make sure that there's not anything in this lockbox that I can't live without. There did end up being a handful of things I wanted, but I had a really hard time getting an employee to come over and let me look in the lockbox. So let's go check out the rest of the store, and then we'll come back over here when we can get an employee's attention. With there being as many games in the lockbox as there was, I don't have high hopes for what's on the shelf, but I'm still going to look. And right off the bat, Skylanders, hunting game, drawing game, Connect game, not a lot. An M&M game, thought about that one for a second. It's a really easy to find game, but I keep finding it without its manual. Of course, that was the case for this one. And then there were some PC games, but tucked in by those PC games was not one, but there were actually 2 PS1 games, and I am always happy to find PS1 games at the thrift, so I held on to those and went and checked the electronics. Over the last year or so, I have bought a handful of gaming peripherals from this Savers and from this electronics section, but right now it's pretty well picked over. Every Monday, Savers has a half-off sale day, and It looks like this store is still pretty well picked over from that sale day and has not yet recovered. So I'm not really judging it on the quality of its current stock, but I am going to put the time in to just make sure that I don't miss anything, because the moment you think you've seen everything in a thrift store, think again. Look one more time. You're going to find something else. After a few rounds around the store, I did finally get an employee to let me in the lockbox, and there was a good stack of games in here, but they were all $5, $6, all the way up to $10 a game. And like this Broken Sword game was $8, and it's a game I've honestly never seen. I have no familiarity with it. Comment below if you do have familiarity with it and I should go back and get it. But I did look a couple games like that one up, and they weren't really valuable or rare, so I'm going to wait till I find it elsewhere for $1 or $2. I thought about it really hard, but I don't pay $8 for games at the thrift. If I'm going to spend that much on a video game, I'm going to go to the game store probably. So the last thrift store that we went to is a real jewel. It's called Indian School Thrift because it sits on Indian School Road. And I have only ever been to this thrift store once, and it was way back 2 years ago when Hannah and I first moved to Phoenix. And Hannah thought when we went in she'd never been here, but I reminded her we'd been in when we first moved here. I mean, within weeks of being here. And honestly, then we weren't really impressed, but we also weren't really as into thrifting as we currently are. Now that we know so much more about thrifting, we definitely have a soft spot in our hearts for the smaller thrift stores, for the lesser chains that are not Goodwill. I find that you really do have to shop these different. When I go to these thrift stores, I take even more time than I normally would to look at them, to find strange things like all those. That whole rack were workout tapes. This thrift store seems like it's straight out of 1998. It's really strange, but I love it. I really just feel like if I take a deep breath and stand here and stare, I'm standing in the 1990s. It's strange. I'm serious. I felt like I was hard-pressed to find any item that was made after 2001 in here. Even this wall over here where the TVs are, they're all CRTs. I walked into a warp zone. This is crazy. But I kind of love it, really. I had to look pretty hard to find anything I was actually looking for. The organization was not very tight. Things were just kind of thrown into very general sections. But I did end up finding video games. I just had to look hard enough. They were kind of tucked in and around and above magazines and books. So I looked through them pretty hard, and right off the bat, I didn't see a whole lot that I wanted. I saw lots of Sims games, a couple of World of Warcraft games, this tennis game, but I wasn't really interested in that. Here's a Wii game. I'm only vaguely interested in this one, but as to not bring shame to my dojo, I'm not going to leave with nothing. So I will at least buy this Wii game, if nothing else. There was a Hobbit PC game, and I just kept looking around hoping something else was tucked in here, because I feel like this thrift store will actually be pretty good for video games. I just need to come when they're restocking them. There's lots of books. There were lots of VHS tapes too. And right here on this shelf waiting for me, Mortal Kombat Gaming Manual. I was very happy. When I found this, I thought, great. I will definitely be coming to this thrift store again soon. They actually have some gaming stuff. And I'm not sure if it was set aside because a customer picked it up off the bookshelf and left it there, or if maybe one of the thoughtful workers was just like, you know what, someone's going to want this. There's probably going to be a large hairy man come here soon. I'm going to leave him this gaming manual. Like I said, there were a bunch of VHS tapes, but I'm not trying to get into VHS tape collecting. I just want a very specific set of Pokemon VHS and a couple others, and that's it. So I didn't see any of that, so I kept moving. And soon enough, I came across another section of VHS tapes. This time, I guess the kiddie section. So if there were any Pokemon VHS, they would have been over here. But I looked through them pretty thoroughly, and it was really just a bunch of Sesame Street and Disney movies. So nothing that I'm going to leave with from this section today. We were just about to leave and call it quits for the day when I noticed they brought out a restocking cart. So I went and checked that out before we left, and there was a bin full of books and media, but unfortunately there were no video games in there. But this really just reiterated the fact for me that I need to come back a little bit more often to this thrift store and try to catch them when video games actually get restocked, because I feel like this is going to be a little hidden gem of a thrift store. I really do feel like that. I'm going to get some good games from here. I just got to come a little bit more frequently from now on. So I'm glad we came here today, and I can't wait to check it out in the future. But for now, let's head back to the game room. All right, guys, we're back in the game room with our giant IKEA bag. I'm not going to go in any particular order because it's really just jumbled up in here. So let's start with this. What do you think this is for? Well, clearly it's meant for light bulbs, but that's not what I'm going to use it for. You can't see the actual boom arm, but this microphone here is being held onto by a black one of these. Now this is put together for a lamp, but it's got the same mounting hardwares all over. So I'm just gonna take this off, replace it with the mic part. I'm gonna take this cord out, replace it with an XLR cable, and then my boom arm will fit the theme of my game room. Pretty cool, right? I would not be mad to find a few more of these. Next, receipt, and then some Wii peripherals, sensor bar, and Wiimote. Find tons of these at the thrift. I do find tons of Wiis, as you might have seen at the thrift, but I do not often find the red one. Hey, this one's got a memory card in it. That's a good sign. Hopefully it works. I haven't tested it yet, but out of the 100 Wiis at this point that I've brought home, I have only brought home one red one, and it's complete in box. And you might just see it right over here. This guy right here, it might be cut off, but yeah, no, that's it. It's a red Wii, and I have the box for it, so I'm gonna actually put that one away and then put this one on display. Very, very happy to find this. I actually have all the American release Wiis except for the miniature one, except for the blue one. I don't have the blue regular Wii, so I've got to find one of those. I've got to get it completely in box, put it on top of the shelves, and then maybe one day, if I'm lucky, find a second loose one to put on my shelf for display, because I love me some Wiis. Very happy to find this. I haven't plugged it up yet because the power cable that I found with it at the thrift was super, super dangerous, so I didn't even plug it up. But I'm hoping to see if there's a game in here. We'll see. Next, an Xbox cable, a 360 cable. Never mad to find those. Let's see. I got a couple gaming manuals today. This one came from a thrift store that I've only been to once prior to now, but I've never been to it on the channel. So I was happy to not only go there, but to also come home with something. A Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. I don't have that one yet. I'll have to keep an eye out for it. I just noticed Goro. Yes. Never mad to find gaming manuals. Another one that I found, World of Warcraft. Very timely find because WoW is on top right now. I didn't get into it a ton, but we did make a WoW video here on the channel. Definitely go check that out. It was my first time playing WoW, and it was a heckin' good time. Super happy to find some manuals. Next, this is really random, but we've got a series here on the channel where we play games that look bad, and I think this looks terrible, these trivia games. So we might make a video out of this in the future, but at any rate, I always wanted to have one just to have this particular set of peripherals, but I never find them all together. I think at this point I had like the blue and the yellow remote, and that was it. And when I bought them, I didn't even know what they were, but this is a complete set. It's got 2 in-case sets of the controllers, and it also has the game in it. If I can figure out how to open it. Trust me, it's in here. And then the game is over here. So it's complete. It's a little bit rough, but I'm not mad about it. I'll put it on the shelf and look at it until we finally decide to play it once. But very happy to find that. Next, let's see. Let's go through the games that I got, and then I'll save the biggest thing for last. First up, Avatar: The Last Airbender for original Xbox. Also from that Goodwill that I'd only been to once prior to now. Very happy that they even had games there. They didn't have many, but they had some. Also from there was this Game Party 2. A goofy, cheap Wii title. I've got plenty of those. And then next, these are sports titles, but I'm never mad to find PlayStation 1 games at the thrift. NFL Game Day 2001. Very nice. And then NBA Live 2000. I will be putting, actually, you know what? You guys hang tight. I'm going to put these on the PlayStation shelf. All right. And then I got a stack of old floppy games. And I don't know anything about these. I might be digging a little into this on the channel. I don't know. But if anybody's watching and you know anything about this, talk to me. Let's talk about it. Comment below. Let's have a chat. The Quest. I'd be surprised if these work. Sundog, Frozen Legacy. I wonder what the cases look like for these. World Challenge. Well, I know what a case looks like for these, but like, I wonder how artwork was back in these days, because these things are copyrighted like 1984. And that leads me up to the big find of the day that I'm probably most excited about, and that is an Apple C2. Look at this thing. Oh, man. Now, I plugged it up at the store. I don't think I caught that on camera, but it didn't work. It didn't work there. And the power supply for it, this thing is a brick. You see where they got their name. You see why they started calling them brick back in the day. It's just a big monstrosity. Look at that thing. It's as big as my head. Okay, it's not that big, but it's big. And I read a little bit about this Apple online, and apparently power supplies are a problem for people that still try to run them, so I'm probably in that same boat. But I'm either going to order a new power supply. If that's not impossible, that might be impossible. Or see if I can find some sort of schematics to maybe work on this thing. I don't know. I'd like to get it working. I'd like to make a video out of playing some super old games, see if those games work. You know, I think that'd be fun. But if that doesn't work out, these things are still going for a couple $100 used on eBay. So I will get my money back. Not worried about that. I'll keep it if it works. I might even collect for this system. I'm so happy about this. You know, these old Apple computers of different sorts have showed up at the thrift where I shop semi-regularly over the last couple years that I have frequented them. But this one certainly hasn't, and I certainly haven't ever seen one show up where not only the computer, but the power supply was laying there, and a separate disk drive. I don't know if it's, I mean, that looks the exact same as this one. So I don't know if that means this one's busted, or I don't know. I don't know what these things mean, but also the mouse was there. This is the best part. This is by far the best part. Look at this jewel. One button. Back in the old times when things were a lot simpler. And of course, the actual physical ball. Man, I was born in 1989. So when this computer came out, let's see if there's a year on it. Those games were 1984. I'm not seeing a year, but let's just assume mid-80s. I was not born yet, so I certainly didn't grow up in this era of gaming. And things were a lot different by the time I was playing on computers in the mid-90s. So this is awesome. I'm very happy to have this. I'm very happy to play with this a little bit and see if I can get it working. Look at this volume knob. Wow. I love it. I was very happy to find this. I'm probably gonna display it somewhere behind me for the duration of me having it. So you guys will get to look at it a little bit extra too. But guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for going to the thrift store with me. Leave me a comment below and let me know what your favorite thing that I found today was. Was it this Apple? I don't think they were Macs back then. I tried to call it a Mac. You're not a Mac, are you? That's probably offensive to you. I'm sorry. I apologize. Was your favorite thing I found the Wii? I don't know. Leave me a comment. Maybe leave me a comment and tell me what your least favorite thing that I found was. I don't know. I'm not mad about any of it. This was a good day as far as I'm concerned. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Real quick, do me a favor. I might start streaming things like this. If this works, I have the capability to capture this video on my computer and stream it. So if you would be into a streamer that streams really freaking random things, I need you to run over to my Twitch page and hit that follow button, because we're going to be doing goofy stuff like this really soon over on our Twitch page. Also here on YouTube, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button before you go, and turn that bell notification on so that when I post videos like this in the future, you'll get a notification then, and you can come back and hang out with me then. Until then, guys, peace out.